You said that on direct examination, you didn't like the way he looked at her.
Yes.
And you described that as, hey, I know what a man looks at a woman like, right?
Yes.
Okay. Outside of that, I just didn't like the way he looked at her. Did you ever actually see anything inappropriate between IS and Johnathan Quiles?
Outside of his looks? No.
Okay. Did you ever see any behavior between the two of them that would indicate that there was any sort of sexual relationship going on?
The way he looked at her, my opinion, yes. Let me look at you. That's how he looked at her. Now I'm gonna look at you. How you doing, sir? He didn't look at her like a how you doing, sir. He looked at her like a man look at a woman.
Okay. Outside of that, you never saw anything that would indicate any sort of sexual relationship between the two of them?
No.
Okay. And you were never confided in by IS or anybody else about there ever being any such sexual relationship between IS and Johnathan Quiles?
We had our own, I didn't speak to IS, no. But, me and my sisters had our own separate, yes.
Okay. Outside of the accusations that you talked about that, between your sisters and you, there was no other information that you ever received that there was a sexual relationship going on between IS and Johnathan Quiles, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You talked about the accusation itself. You said you were the one who made the accusation originally. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you did that when you found out that she was pregnant.
Yes.
Is it true that you actually made a similar type of accusation when the Kamar Humphrey situation occurred?
I need you to be a little more specific.
Okay, let me go back. Do you know who Kamar Humphrey is?
I've never seen him before. I've heard of him, and I know that he used to stay across the street from my sister Kim. Have I ever seen him? Could I pick him out in the lineup? No.
Okay. Are you aware of a sexual battery that Kamar Humphrey committed against IS?
Yes.
Okay. And were you aware of that at the time it happened?
I went to the house, and I did speak to IS about that.
And did she tell you that that's what happened?
Yeah, we talked. Do you want to know what we talked about, or is that hearsay?
No, I don't need you to tell me specifically.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. As far as that time period when Kamar Humphrey sexually battered IS, at that point in time, were there accusations of a sexual relationship made between IS and Johnathan Quiles?
Before that time?
Around that time period, yes.
Around that time? I'm going to say between the sisters. And when I say we didn't speak on a text message, I've always, every time I see anything, I've always said something, but.
Okay, as far as those accusations that were from earlier on in 2018, did you ever speak to IS about that and ask her about those accusations?
For which one?
Did you ever ask IS to confirm or deny sexual relationship, any sort of sexual relationship with Johnathan Quiles?
She wouldn't tell us about anything. Only reason why I honestly feel like we found out is because she got caught with Kumar. Yeah, but no, only other thing I tried to get out of her, we were trying to find out who the father of her child was, but she wouldn't say anything.
Okay. So I know that these accusations had been going on for some time back in early 2018, and then again when she got pregnant. At any point in time, did IS ever confirm a sexual relationship between herself and Johnathan Quiles?
No.
All right, let me ask you about where she would go, because that was stated multiple times. You named 3 places originally. You named 3 places. You named Kimberly Mobley's house, her own house.
Yes.
You named Johnathan and Naomi's house.
Yes.
And you said that she had stayed at her grandma's over the summer.
Yes.
Then later you said it's not just those 3 places, it's actually, other family members too, because sometimes she'd stay at Paula's house, correct?
We would go over there. Would she go to Paula's house? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and other family members' houses as well, she would go over to their homes as well?
It's normally when we had functions, but for the most part, she was either home, stay at my house, the night at my house. No, I don't remember her staying the night at my sister's house. The only place that she stayed for an extended period of time was either at her house or Naomi and Jonathan's house at that time.
Okay, or her grandmother in Georgia.
Or her grandma, but that was for the summertime.
Right, understood. As far as Kamar Humphrey, did you know that IS was going over to Kamar Humphrey's house?
At first, no, I didn't. I found out about him after she got caught.
After she got caught with him?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
That's outside of that, I wouldn't even know his name.
Okay. And so if she hadn't got caught, you wouldn't have even known that she was going over to Kamar Humphrey's house on a regular basis?
I don't know if she was going on a regular basis.
Okay, or that she'd been over there?
If she didn't get caught, I wouldn't have known, no.
So is it fair to say that although those 3 places you mentioned, it's very possible that she could have been going other places as well that you weren't aware of?
No, Mars, he stayed across the street. So she didn't have a car, so where would she go? She went just, you want me to stop?
You mean Kamar was close in proximity, so that was easy
Yes,
for her to
it was
get?
just across the street. Outside of that, where would she go? Because if she did go somewhere, we would know, because her mama would say something.
All right, you agree though that you didn't know about that beforehand, so you wouldn't have been able to tell us that if she had not been caught?
About her going across the street?
Correct.
No, I wouldn't. No one would know.
And so, again, it's fair to say that if she were going other places on foot, you wouldn't be able to tell us if she was or wasn't.
Where's she going? I don't know where else she would go.
All right, Aunt Jametta on the stand. She's good. I liked when she did her whole thing. Look, for the jury. The Francis Johnson's with us. Francis, this is a death case. It seems a little thin to be going for the death penalty. No body, I mean, there's some holes here. Do we really want to execute people when we kind of think that they did it? I don't know, your take on the state saying, yeah, let's go all in.
Well, this is the true definition of a circumstantial case. They have no body, they have no confirmation of death. This is a presumed death case. And I think I would agree with you. The death penalty should be reserved for the most heinous of crimes. But this is what they're laying out. They're laying out that this uncle, who has been previously alleged to have committed sexual assaults against other relatives, raped, and then after learning of impregnation, killed her, and obviously the unborn child. And so this is very heinous in nature. We should be reminded that Florida has amended its laws. It doesn't require unanimity as relates to a death verdict, just 8-4. And so this is a real test of that new law passed in Florida. And this is also a test of just how circumstantial a circumstantial case can be and still warrant the death penalty.
And Francis, let's talk about this aunt's testimony. You mentioned earlier how powerful it was, and on cross she talks about the moment where that her, her sister's husband was looking at this 15-year-old girl as a woman, not as a girl, and this concerning red flags and just that at family functions. Really, I think this jury's not going to like this guy, obviously.
I don't like him. He's creepy. And not just that, but he has a track record to go along with it. And every auntie and all of the aunties across the nation who are watching this show know exactly what she's talking about. That's your job as an auntie, to watch as well as to be careful in your observations, that nobody's preying on your nieces and your nephews. And she knows what she saw, and it's connecting with the jurors because it's connecting with the common sense observations and the application of reasoning that every loving uncle, I'm an uncle, every auntie, my wife is an auntie, has for the children that are in their care. And this guy just gives me the creeps just looking at it.
The defendant is not going to take the stand in this case, Francis. I guess I see why, but to your point, I mean, this aunt just lays it out there in such a way that is understandable. She's folksy, she's totally the classic lay witness. Does the defendant need to get up and defend himself if indeed he didn't do this?
You know, I'm of the opinion that in certain cases, the defendant has to speak, and that's not always in person. Sometimes they're recorded statements that are good and helpful. I'm not sure he's going to do anything but confirm what people may believe about him. I would leave that as a part of the doubt as well. You know, he's not a bad-looking guy. He's presentable. He doesn't just appear to be a weirdo in and of his face, but there's something about him that makes the hair on my neck stand up, especially when I hear of these other allegations and what they've laid out as the case in principle, that he murdered his niece after finding out she was pregnant, after trying to force her to have an abortion. This is just rotten to the core.